And welcome to the Howard Eskin Show in this new world of podcasting. A podcast is the future. And I can see with the dynamics of what's going on and what's going on in the world, but it's a way to reconnect with you. And those are the things that I really wanted to do. Because there's so many things to talk about. There's so many things that you want to talk to me about. And it's such a great opportunity. And I told you there'd be another chapter. There is another chapter. Now, right now, the way I understand it, we're on Instagram and Facebook Live. Eventually, we will be on YouTube. Right now, we're not on Twitter. For those people, and I'll try to send a message out. People on Twitter can't hear me, but if we send a message out to tell them to go to the other social media platforms if Twitter does not connect. But whatever, I'm here to talk to you. I'm here to get connected with you, and if you have questions, if you have anything you want me to talk about, I'm happy to do it. But let me not forget that Charles Barkley will join us very, very shortly. This is a big week for a lot of reasons in Philadelphia. The Eagles are playing in the Super Bowl. That's a big enough reason. And I get it. But there's been so much between the radio, between television. You know, how much can you get of, and it's not nothing, the game is big, but the week's too long. The week is way, way, way too long. And there's too many media sessions. But it's just, it's incredible how much that when the coach and the quarterback and the players are available for news conferences all week, the questions are the same, asked differently. So the game, and we'll talk about the game before it's played. You know, there's things that I've always looked about, and I'm going to be brief because I want to get to Charles Barkley because there's so many things. I'm telling you, there's so many things that that over the years I've shared with Charles, and there's so many stories, and there's so many opinions that he has and I have. But here's a few things I look at in the Super Bowl. You look at the coach and the quarterback. The coach and the quarterback are better for Kansas City. That doesn't mean Kansas City's going to win, but they are better. You know, I don't think the Eagles have to worry about the distractions because they've already been through. They've been through everything with a Super Bowl a couple of years ago, so they kind of understand it. Now there's a lot of different players, and I'm going to ask Charles because he's a crazy. I mean, he loves to gamble. So I'm going to ask Charles about the game, but we're going to talk about other things. So the thing that I think I really should address with Charles is the thing, and he knows every sport, the thing that he knows best, and that would be, there's no question, that would be basketball. But there's all kinds of stories, and he can relate to different things. But the thing that I want to tell you, we will connect. I will, if you have any questions, send your comments in, and I will try to answer as many comments as I possibly can. And I think I can answer a lot of them for you, and I will do so. But I'm here for you. We're formulating how many days a week, probably likely 3 days a week. I will be doing the Howard Eskin Show, and we will podcast that. And I'm actually looking forward to it. So we will get it rolling. We will do a lot, and I guarantee you. And there's so many things that you have probably wanted to ask me that you haven't been able to do, and we will be doing it. We will be doing it over the next whatever. We're going to do it. But we are reconnected. One of the things that I really want to do is I want to thank I want to thank everybody for all their responses. The responses, looking forward to this. And I know right now we're having some technical issues with Twitter, but that doesn't stop us because we'll repost this, and it will be there for you. But the responses have been unbelievable. People wanting to hear what I have to say, people waiting for me to come back, and I am back. And we will talk about a lot of things, and I promise you that. All right, so if you have any questions, send in your response, and I will do that. But I think it's time, because I know Charles Barkley is going to have a lot to say, and hopefully we can share some stories, and we're going to do that. So we'll be back with Charles in a very, very, very short time. We'll be right back. And welcome back. And he is a man of many words. Some of them people don't like, but that's like me too. That would be Charles Barkley. But that's all right. You just say whatever you want, and we'll rip each other at some point. But that's okay too, because we understand each other. Welcome, Charles, and thank you. I want to
How
get
did
into
you
some
get a
serious.
podcast?
How did I?
Damn,
I
they must
bribed.
be desperate.
Yeah, well, what I bribe somebody. Desperation is a good thing sometimes. So, hey, listen, I'm never going to be as big as you, but I'm pretty damn big. Let's just face it. All right. You relax there.
Well, you know
But
what,
that's all right.
Howard, you know what's crazy? First of all, you're old as hell. But we've been together since
I'm
19.
older. I'm
Yeah,
older.
I know you're older, way older. But you know what's crazy, man? I'm starting to get to that stage in life where you think about like you closer to the end than the beginning. And I'm not worried about it. I've had a great run. But you think about it, man. We've been together since 1985. Is that crazy or what?
I
I
think it's
mean,
84. Weren't you drafted in 84?
well, it goes 84, 85. Right,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
But
Right.
it's been I look at my life, I look at your life. It's been crazy, man. All the things that have happened. It's been such an amazing journey, an amazing ride. I mean, I never knew I was gonna have the success I had when I got drafted by the Sixers. And I will say this one thing about you. You're one of the few reporters who had the guts to say stuff on TV and radio, and actually come in the locker room. I mean, you criticized me, and at times I deserved it. Sometimes I thought you were full of shit. But the one thing I've always given you credit for, number one, I think people know we're friends. Let me tell you how full of shit people are, Howard, about our friendship. I could be in different parts of the country, and people are like, "How's the boy Eskin doing?" I mean, like, I'm not even joking. Like, obviously I live in Arizona, but I've been in Dallas or Houston. So I'm like, "How's your boy Eskin doing?" I said, "He's doing good, man. I see him during the summer." But man, you've been a great friend for a long time. But like I say, man, I got your work ethic is ridiculous. How hard you have worked uh, going to all the sporting events. I mean, you don't just. I mean, dude, you earn your keep. You go to all sporting events. I got to give you your flowers and your props for that.
You know what? There's been some players that have come after me. You never played with Daryl Dawkins, right? That was way
No,
before you. Okay. Daryl, how this story. And you got to talk to him. That's the one thing. And when you hear people on TV or on radio and they criticize you and then you never see them, that's a problem. So one night I'm on it could have been radio or TV, and I buried Daryl Dawkins for his play. He played 30 minutes, had 2 rebounds. All right. So he sees me in the locker room. It was in the Spectrum. And he says, my girlfriend told me what you said, and I should kick your ass. I said, well, what did I say? He says, you ripped me. And I said, Charles, let's look at your last game. Played 30 minutes, you had 2 rebounds. Why shouldn't I rip you? Thought about it. He says, you're right. You're right. We became friends after that.
You
But you
know,
got to address it. You got to address it with people.
yeah, but Howard, I learned something from Dr. J. 'Cause there's a couple times, not you, different. Well, there's times you pissed me off, you know that, and probably, you know what? And I learned that Dr. J. I put him aside a couple times when guys had wrote columns, blah blah blah, and he said, is it true?" I said, "What?" He said, "Is the criticism fair?" He said, "Charles, you can't get mad every time somebody says something about you because sometimes it's true. He says, if you play bad, they're gonna write bad things about you. When you play good, they're gonna write good things about you. This is a business. We're in a relationship with the media, with the fans. If you don't like the fans, if you play bad, they're going to boo you, especially in Philadelphia, New York, Boston, places like that. But when you play well, they cheer you. But when players, I tell them to this day, man, what really pisses me off hard, I gotta tell you this. They never, you know what? Guys never come to you and says, "Hey man, thanks for the kind words you said about me." I says that never happens. But you say one bad thing, they go crazy because their wife, their girlfriends, one of their brothers or sisters said, "Howard or Barkley ripped me." I says, "You know what? Y'all never called me and said, 'Charles, my family told me you said I was a great, great player and a great, great person.'" They never call you with that type of shit, Howard. That's the only thing I hate about my job. Like I get calls from players and agents, and I said,
Oh
"Hey,
my
this is
gosh,
this,
I can't imagine.
oh,"
Yeah.
and I tell them, I said, "Dude, this is why I said this about you, blah, 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 blah." I said, "But, I got a question. Why they never call you and say, 'Hey, man, that Charles Barkley was saying great things about you on television?'" I mean, I said, they never do that. So, but that goes with the job, man. I tell guys a couple things. I'm never going to say somebody should get fired, and I'm never going to talk about their personal life. Those are really my only 2 rules.
You know what? I got a good advice from Gary Maddox, who I got to know really well when he played with the Phillies. Center fielder, for those people that don't remember, it goes way back. A writer ripped me when I went to television because I obviously got more money. He said or when I changed stations, I had already been in TV, and I changed stations to Channel 29, and I got a lot more money. And he ripped me. He loved me when I was on Channel 3, and then he ripped me. And I come in, and I was working out with those guys, he and Mike Schmidt and a bunch of the Flyers. And I was working out with him, and he saw I was pissed off. He said, "What are you pissed off about?" I says, "This guy ripped me in the paper." I won't say who it is. He doesn't write there anymore. He says,
Stu
"Listen,
Malkowski.
it, no, it wasn't. It was a sports writer." He said, "If you're going to get mad at guys ripping you when they write something in the paper, you can't read anything. Don't read anything." And he's right. You can't read because the good stuff, you're never going to as much as the bad stuff. But most of the time, all they're trying to do is generate. Now it's clicks on social media.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Well, I tell you a funny story, Howard. I was like, when I became the leader of the 76ers, I was watching TV one day, and Darren Dalton, rest in peace, one of the great dudes I ever been around. He's talking about being a leader and holding guys accountable, and he went on a great little rant. And I kind of repeated the same thing like a couple of days later to the papers. And I wake up the next day and it's got Barkley rips Sixers teammates. And it was so funny. All the guys who heard Darren's speech were talking about what a great leader he was and everything. And then when I repeated what he said, they said Barkley bashed his teammates. And man, the one thing you have to learn in this business, you can never take insults personally. Just like you can't take accolades, you take them both with a grain of salt. A guy told me one time, there's only about 6 inches between a pat on the back and a kick in the ass, and he's 100% correct.
Yeah, it is amazing. Who has been the worst, if you can say it, and you can say whatever you want, the player that has got on you the most for your criticism?
Probably Kevin Durant.
Really?
And I've never said anything personal, but he's sensitive. He's very sensitive. I mean, everybody knows that. But he's probably taking more shots. And like I say, but I'm never gonna respond. The one thing you can never do, it can never become personal. Like all my criticisms of him have always been basketball related. And LeBron ripped me one time because he did something. I can't remember what it is right off the top of my back. He talked about my gambling and things like that. Yo, man, yeah, I like to gamble. Yeah, things like that. But all my criticism of players will always be the same. It's sports related. I don't care what they do in their private life. That's none of my business. But I wish they would call me sometime and say thanks for the kind words, but they never ever do that, Howard. Ever do that. You know what's so funny? You're talking about you've been in this thing a long time, which tells me number one, you're great at your job and you're successful. But I wonder if any player ever came to you and said you said something great about him. They don't. They only come with the bullshit when you said something bad. I'd be wondering, and you're coming on, you're close to 50 years right now, right, or more.
Who, me?
Yeah, I mean, you got to
How
be.
old
If
am
you,
I?
no, I'm talking about how many years you've been in the sports
Oh,
business.
okay. I've been, it was on WIP close to 4 decades. And then I started at 1210 radio in 76 on the air officially. So that's close to 50 years. You're
Yeah,
right.
so in your
Yeah.
50 years, I wonder if any like guys have like you can count the times guys have probably ripped you or came at you, but I guarantee you, and I'd be surprised, the guys never come to you and say, "Hey man, thanks for the great words." They never have done that.
Nope. Nope. They'll get on you. But the one thing, never, never. And you say that there are things you say nice if a player plays well. The one thing that I've always tried to do, and I did it with Jason Worth, who, when I had a little dispute with, say, a little dispute with Charlie Manuel when he was the manager of the Phillies, and Charlie walked through the locker room and he says, "Man, I'm going to kick your ass." I said, "Charlie, why don't you grow up?" And Charlie says, "I've been growed up." So,
Hey,
so anyway, so
one of my
I'm on
favorite
ESPN.
people too. One of my favorite people, Charlie Manuel, man. He was the best.
Yeah, we're friends now. But in the locker room, there was only a couple of guys there, and Jason Worth stared me down his first year with the Phillies. So I'm on ESPN the next day. They said, "Any players get after you, get on you?" I said, "Yeah, Jason Worth stared me down. He's a marginal Major League Baseball player." And I said that because he was making minimum. At the end of the season, they won the division. There's champagne in the locker, and I'm wearing my suit. I'm doing TV, and he pours champagne on me. He says, "This is early in the season." I said he waits till the end of the year. He says, "Marginal Major League Baseball player." I says, "You waited all year to tell me that? We got to talk." So after the playoffs, we're going to talk. So he poured the champagne on me out of anger, not out of happiness. So we talked for 45 minutes, and now we're good friends. It's just you gotta get together with guys. Hey, listen, I remember telling you when you first came, you liked Tarkanian, Jerry Tarkanian, the coach of Las Vegas, and
Yes.
I always ripped Tark. And you said, "Why are you ripping Tark?" I said, "I think he's a phony." He says, "Are you going to rip me?" This was your first year in the league. I said, "If you don't play both ends of the courts, I'm ripping your ass too." So I mean, and you understood me,
Yeah.
and we were on the same page, And I said it tongue in cheek, but you know, hey, listen, I appreciated the way you played most of the time, but I saw that the Michael Jordan documentary, and I'm going to give you a compliment. And I was there at the beginning of that series because the first two games were in Phoenix. So we were together. I remember you told me you choked one night too, which a player never says that. But anyway, I saw how good you were. I'm telling you, the lightning fast, rebound, handle the ball, pass it off the dribble. That's what Larry Bird did so well. And people that don't understand and never really got to see Larry Bird. But I realized how good you were, but I didn't appreciate it when you were playing. And that's, I think, some of the
Well, that's because
problems
y'all
with
had them
athletes.
bombs surrounding me, Howard. You know, what's interesting about that? Number
Well,
one,
you're
thank you.
not with Phoenix, but with the
Yeah,
Sixers.
yeah, but
Yeah.
thank you for the comment. But Dude, I was a much better player in Philadelphia than I was in Phoenix.
Really?
Oh yeah, much better. The difference was Kevin Johnson and Dan Marley. I mean, I was a great player, but man, you can't do it by yourself. And the better players you play with, the easier the game is for you. Like when I got Kevin Johnson, Dan Marley, I'm like, I'm good. And we made it to the finals, then we lost to the Rockets like the next 2 years in Game 7 when we were both the best team. But I was a much better
Mm-hmm.
player in Philadelphia because I was on the. When you get over 30, you're starting to decline. But I had more team success. I really have always been pissed at the Sixers because man, they kind of screwed up my entire career, to be honest with you, because I remember going out and celebrating because our team was awful, and I think I made my second or third All Star team. I was in my prime around 26, right around 25, 26, right now. I was right in the sweet spot of my career. And I remember us going out, getting drunk, and celebrating. We had the number one pick in the draft. And I'm like, we're going to be good for the next 10 years. I was really excited
Oh,
about
I
to play
remember
with
what
Brad
happened.
Daugherty. And I remember getting a phone call. We were drunk as hell, me and the guys. We went out. We were so excited for the draft. I remember going home. My phone rings like 5 o'clock in the morning. I think I'd only been in bed like probably 2, 3 hours, to be honest with you. We laid one on really good. We were so excited for the draft. I remember the great Phil Jasner giving me a call, and shout out to Phil Jasner. His son Andy passed away last summer. I saw that. That was
Yeah.
heartbreaking. He was great. But Phil was great. Shout out to Andy's family.
Yes, he
Rest
was.
in peace. And also, I got to give a shout out to two other people before I finish out. Rest in peace, Mr. Katz. I got the phone call from the Sixers last week that Mr. Katz had passed away, man. You know,
Yep.
he was a good dude, man. He does the thing every summer that was the highlight of my summer when I'm in Philadelphia. All old Sixer players and coaches, we get together and tell stories for about 3 hours, man. It was the highlight of my summer when he moved back for the summer. Sitting around with Billy Cunningham and Doc and those guys. Billy's telling stories about Wilt Chamberlain. How many people actually played with Wilt Chamberlain? And he's telling these stories and Hal Greer and those guys. So rest in peace, Mr. Cass. And also one of the truly good guys I met in my time in Philadelphia. Just saw him a couple of months ago, Jim Solano, man. Solano
Yeah,
passed
I
away,
was
and
at the
what a
funeral
really,
last
really
week. Yeah.
good dude, man.
Yes, he
What a
was.
really, really
You know
good
what?
dude. So,
I'm gonna touch.
no, I
You
want to finish
mentioned
this
Wilt
story
Chamberlain.
first, though. So my
Okay, go
phone
ahead. Go
rings at
ahead.
5 o'clock in the morning, and it's Phil. And I'm kind of foggy. He says, Charles, I need to talk to you. I said, Phil, it's 5 o'clock in the morning. He says, I need to talk to you about this trade. I said, what trade? He said, Sixers just traded the number one pick in the draft. I said, Phil, the Sixers are not that fucking stupid. You don't trade the number one pick in the draft. And he says, Charles, I'm 100% serious. So I said, give me 10, 15 minutes to take a shower because I want to be cognizant when I blow a gasket. So I jump in the shower. I get him. He says, you guys traded the number one pick in the draft. I said, to who? To the Cleveland Cavaliers. I said, for who? He said, for Roy Hanson. And I says, Roy, who I like a lot as a person, I said, I know good and well. We did not trade the number one pick in the draft for Roy. And Roy's he was a good teammate. He's a good dude. And he says, I said, no way. They're not that stupid. The Sixers are not that stupid. He says, oh, and it gets better. I said, how can it get better? He says, they traded Moses, who was the most important person in my career. I said, they traded Moses to Washington for Jeff Rulin. I said, Jeff Rulin hasn't played in a year, 2 years because he got no knees. He said, they traded for Jeff Rulin and Cliff Robinson. I says, this is going to go down as the worst decision in 76ers history, these two trades. Because in my mind, I'm going to get Brad Daugherty for the next 10 years of my career. And also, he would have been a great mentor. Moses would have been a great mentor for him. And I said, come on, man. And then, like I said, Ruler never even played. And Cliff had a good career with me. But man, that was the turning point in my career.
I just want to, before I get to Wilt Chamberlain, and I'll tie it in with what I'm about to ask you. today's players, and we got the NBA is going crazy now, and players don't even. I don't even know if they care about winning anymore. All they care about is their next max contract. So people, and I won't say who they were telling me, "Oh, Joel Embiid so much better than Will Chamberlain." I said I was lucky enough as a kid to see Will Chamberlain play, and Billy Cunningham's told me so many. This guy could take 4.5 strides and get down the court. He was such a great athlete, besides being strong and everything. Are you crazy? So, today's players, like Embiid, played his first game in, I guess, 5 years, it seemed like, the other night. And it's just, and now he's blaming it on, he says, well, I'll play every game, but that's up to God. Now he's blaming it on somebody else. I mean, give me a break. You gotta rehab to try to get better, which he didn't like the rehab programs that I was told he didn't like the rehab programs that the Sixers gave him. So he didn't do any of them. But today's players, with what's going on in the NBA, how entitled are today's players? And with that, how has it hurt the NBA?
Or it's killing the NBA. I think that these guys make so much money. God bless them. God bless them. I'm not a hater, but they make so much money. The incentive to get better as a player, because once you get the money, there's no reason to get better. And you know, think about it, Howard. These guys, man, Joel made me mad when he said before the season he wasn't gonna play back to back. As a great player, you could never say that to your teammates, or you don't want to shit on the fans either. These tickets are outrageous. You want to try to play. If a guy's hurt, he's hurt. But I've never seen a great player say that before the season started, ever in the history of any sport, not just basketball, any sport. But what drives me crazy is guys making 40, 50, 60 million dollars is probably going to go up for sure in this next. We're going to have guys making 80, 90, 100 million dollars going forward. To play basketball 3 or 4, the most you're going to play is 4 days in a week. Adam Silver kind of killed back to back, so now they really don't play back to backs. But to ask people to pay thousands of dollars and hundreds of dollars for tickets, to tell a guy like I'm not gonna play back to back, it's an insult to the fans. It's an insult to the game, because you think about it, they got the best shoes ever, they got the best medical ever, they got the most comfortability. Like, Howard, I'm so old, we flew commercial. These guys don't ever fly commercial. So you would think they would have the incentives to play more because it's so comfortable now. I mean, can you imagine playing basketball in those damn Chuck Taylors? You know, like I say, now they got the best medical stuff. When I first got in the NBA, some careers were ended because you blew out a knee. Now they got you back in a week, 6 weeks, or a month. I mean, back in the day, if you hurt your meniscus, you were probably out for the season, basically. Now you're back
Well,
in 2 to 3 weeks. And like I say,
well,
even if you tear your ACL, you back in a year. But man, these guys got the best shoes. They got the best medical. They don't ever fly commercial. I mean, I would want to play basketball in these days. Like, I went over to when the Sixers gave me a statue. I went up to their
I
training
saw it.
facility. I was like, holy shit. They got they had like 4 or 5 basketball courts. They had swimming pools. They had a 24-hour chef. I says, what does that mean? That means you can come over here 24/7 and work out, and they'll cook you a meal. I'm like, you shitting me, right? They're like, yeah, they got you can
It's
they got a
amazing.
place where you can take a nap if you want one. But I'm like, you're telling me I can come shoot basketball 1, 2 in the morning and work on some of my shooting on an off day, or we played a game and we flew in and got back. I can go to the gym, work on my jump for shot for an hour. Let's say an hour. They got a complete weight room, but they gonna have somebody there to cook for me. Oh my God, I'm gonna be the best basketball player in the world. I'm gonna be in the best condition ever. I'm like, are you, man? We have to practice at St. Joe's, which is a great school. But they're like, you got to be out of the locker room in 15 minutes because the basketball team got a game tonight, or they got to practice. I'm like, dude, it's these dudes are so lucky and blessed to have the stuff they got today, Howard.
So you mentioned they can come back in shorter periods of time with the medical. However, do they, once they sign that long-term contract, do they really want to come back? For instance, Daryl Morey is such a terrible, terrible executive and general manager, whatever his title is. He gives Joel Embiid a 4-year extension, which starts next year at the average of $62.5 million a year. What incentive does he have to come back? He gives Paul George a 4-year max contract, and nobody else was going to give him that much. He's averaged 50 games a year, except for the previous year where he played to get a contract. I mean, once they get the money, do they really have the incentive to play?
They do not, because they're gonna get paid no matter what. That's the tricky, slippery slope when you sign a player to a max deal. He's got to be all in because there's nothing you can do to him. And you know, a lot of these teams, they just keep firing coaches. Like in Phoenix, the players are the problem, but they're on their third coach in 4 years. And you said to yourself, well, okay, it was the first coach's fault. Okay, I can live with that. Okay, it was the second coach's fault. Okay, now we're on a slippery slope. Now they're on their third coach, and they're 500, and they got three guys making $60 million a year. I'm like, yeah, it ain't the coach. And these are the decisions you make. You know, it's interesting about the whole Luka Doncic situation. You know, he's not in great shape and he's not a great defender, but the Mavs said, okay, we got to make a decision right now. We got to get this guy 5 years, $350 million. Do we think as he get older, is he gonna get in shape? Which, you know, most players don't get in shape. Number one, you start declining at some point as a player. The wear and tear takes its toll. But also, you don't get in better shape as you get older unless you're gonna, you know, stick to a Tom Brady type diet where you're getting avocado ice cream. I don't want avocado ice cream. I want regular damn vanilla ice cream with butterscotch on it. Throw some sprinkles on it if you have to. But the Mavs, they says, and listen, and
And
you
you're
know,
going to get
everybody's
two. You're
got
going
an
to get
opinion.
two helpings too.
Yes, yeah. No, and everybody's got an opinion on it. But the only people know Luka Doncic is the people who are around him every day. Is he a great player? Yes. But the Mavs had to make a decision, and they know him better than anybody else. Now, will it come back to bite them in the ass? It could. But they
Well,
had
but
to
they
make a
traded a
business
player that.
business decision.
Yeah, but they traded a player that's 25 years old for a player that's got 13 years in the league, and I don't know how old Davis is, but he's got to be what in his close to his mid 30s. Like
He's 30.
it
He's
doesn't make any
31. But
sense.
Howard, think about this. Number one, he just had 40-20 last week, so he's in his prime. And also, you have to think about this. 31. That's really like 20, because you know he only played college 1 year. 31 now ain't 31 in my day where you played college for 3 or 4 years. But also, the most interesting thing about this trade, this is the only trade I've ever seen really in all in the NBA where they actually got a good player back, a great player back. Think about it. In all other NBA trades, you get a bunch of role players and a bunch of draft picks. I don't think the Mavs were gonna do. You know, everybody said, well, they should have opened it up. Well, open it up. You got an all NBA guy back. Unless you're gonna get Joker, Giannis, maybe Tatum and Brown, maybe KD, they were not gonna get another all NBA player back. So I think the Mavs did the best they could under the situation. And let's get one thing straight. The Mavs are a true contender. The Mavs, Listen, when Anthony Davis stays healthy and the trades they made, they got a much better chance of winning the championship than the Lakers do in the next 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, I think LeBron is just trying to build up his points. That's another story. He doesn't play defense anymore. But here's the reality of what I think what's going on in the NBA. I think we both agree the NBA is a bad product, correct? We agree with that? It's a bad product?
Yes, yes, we agree with that.
Okay. All right. So now, in the last couple of days, it seems, I mean, the Luka trade was obviously other reasons, but everybody's just dumping salary. It's like to get under the luxury tax. Do teams care enough about winning, or they just care about the financial aspect when they know that they have no chance to win a championship?
Well, I think, well, in fairness, if you're going to run a business and you got no chance of winning, you got to start worrying about salary. I think both of
Yeah,
your
but don't you
points
have
are,
to count on the fans? I mean, you got your fans here. You still have to have it. If you have a real competitive team, but you know you're not going to win the championship, you still
yeah,
have a
but
real
Howard,
competitive team.
uh, jackasses like yourself, you guys, no, seriously, and not you in particular, all these jackasses on television, you guys try to make guys like myself feel bad instead of, listen, man, I gave everything I could to the 76ers and the Suns. But guys try to make these guys feel bad for not trying to win the championship. And I think that's the one thing I really hate about my job. I'm never going to tell a guy that, like, yo, man, I know Patrick Ewing's a great player. He was trying to win the championship. I know Karl Malone's a great player. He was trying to win the championship. Same thing with John Stockton and guys like that. But unfortunately, and I'm just joking with you about the Jackets, but a lot of these idiots on television now, they make these guys feel bad about not winning the championship. Like Chris Paul wants to win the championship. I know, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, those guys want to win the championship. But these players, they full of it. They're like, well, I don't read the newspaper, I don't watch television. Please stop. Of course you read the newspaper and watch television. But they make these players so sensitive. They all, it goes back to LeBron. They're like, no, let's all get together. Let's all get together and win the championship. And, they forced Kevin Durant to go to the Golden State Warriors. And, and then, he won 2 championships. Like, okay, I'm good now. But these players, they're very sensitive to what people think about them. So, no, they all try to join together and win the championship. And then if that don't work, they move on to the next spot.
Charles, I'm going to change stream here. You had a great career. You didn't win a championship. That doesn't define you because obviously you were a great player. But what was your best moment or moments and your worst moment or moments in your NBA career? It's
Well,
a
I'll tell
hard
you this.
question, I guess, to come up with.
Yeah, I got you. There's nothing like the Olympics. Um, being on the first two,
Best one was the first one, right? The first one
yes,
was the best one, 92?
best one, and '96 was good too. The only because I only played in '96 because it was in the United States. Because I actually originally said, hey, you know what? It's such an amazing experience. I want somebody else to, because, dude, I'm telling you, there's nothing like the Olympics, Howard. I've been so lucky and blessed. There's nothing like the Olympics. I'm with these guys, and man, we're like, whoa, this is crazy how amazing the Olympics are. So I wasn't really gonna know. I really wasn't gonna go in '96, and they're like, "Dude, it's in the United States. You get to bring your family and friends this time around." I'm like, "That's a great question. That's a really good thing. Great point." Those are the two highlights of my career. Probably the low point was losing to the Bulls in the championship because
Yeah.
that was a really good Suns team. And then the next 2 years, because it was going to come down to us and the Rockets. And then they beat us the next, when they won back to back. Those 3 years, my first 3 years in Phoenix, when we lost to the Bulls, and then the next 2 years we lost, we had the best team in us and the Rockets. And man, when you go to 7 games, it was just like splitting hairs, man. It was so close, but we couldn't get over the hump in that situation. So those are probably the three low points for me. But the high points are clearly the Olympics, man. Representing your country is one of the coolest things I've ever experienced. It was crazy. I mean, it was,
I was there in Atlanta.
yeah, yeah. But
I
Howard, let me
remember
tell you how
remember the
crazy.
bomb going off in the park.
Atlanta was great because my mother and grandmother got an opportunity to be there because, Birmingham's only a couple hours from Atlanta. But I'll tell you something.
Oh,
That
that's
thing in
right. Yeah.
'92, man, Howard, uh, when we were at the hotel, there was 3 to 5 thousand people standing like a half a block away watching us get on the bus and screaming for Michael and obviously Larry and Magic because, dude, it was so surreal. We're like, whoa. And then when we would go to the game on the highway, there was hundreds of people with signs just standing there. And we had an armed motorcycle guard on the side of the bus, each side. We had 2 police cars in front and back. We had a helicopter above us. I mean, the security was like like Howard, I'm talking about when we got on the highway to go to the games or practice, hundreds of people had signs standing on the side of the road. It was one of the coolest, most surreal things I've ever experienced in my life.
You know what was cool for me? I was there and I was sitting in the stands, and I'm sure you remember Muhammad Ali coming down the stands carrying the torch. And it was the section he was coming down. It was like right next to the section I was in. And I had met Muhammad Ali before that. But just to see Muhammad Ali, and obviously it was towards the end,
Yeah.
to come down the stadium stairs carrying the torch,
Amazing.
it was just, it put chills. It's Muhammad Ali. I don't know if he's the greatest athlete ever, 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 but he's up there for sure.
Well, he's clearly up there for what he stood for. Number one, he was amazing. He's always been my guy, my hero, because, Howard, what he did was so amazing. He was he was the highest paid athlete in the world at the time. And when he wouldn't go to Vietnam, he's like, he stood on principle. And one of the reasons he's so revered in the black community and should be worldwide is he was like, what if we just send you there and you do like boxing exhibitions or he said, no, I'm standing on principle. I'm standing on business. And he had a chance to like do that. And there's been a great
Yeah, he
debate
was.
in the black community, which I think is a little bit unfair because they had the same situation with Joe Louis, and he went there and just did boxing exhibition. I think he got a bad rep. But Ali
Yeah,
was says, I am not going 3,000
amazing.
miles away to fight people who have done nothing to me. And for that reason, he will always be the greatest in my opinion.
All right, Charles, we're going to get today's game. And the NBA, it is what it is. And there's maybe 4 or 5 teams that have a chance to win a championship. When you look at the teams now, who do you think is the best with a chance to win the championship? Tough question. There's some good teams in the West.
Yeah, but I was watching closely last night because clearly the Cavaliers and the Celtics have separated themselves in the East.
Yep.
And the Celtics went in there and punched them in their damn face, Howard. I was because I said, people asked me, I said, dude, I still got the Celtics in the Eastern Conference. Well, Cleveland's got the best record. I said, well, they're going to play in a couple weeks. And I'm curious because the Cavs got to know when the bully come to town, you can't get punched in the face. You got to punch him first. And the Celtics
Right.
went in there like, oh, y'all got this cute little record. We on national television. We want everybody to know that we are still the champs. And they went in there and just kicked their ass. I was like, oh, that's impressive. That's the Eastern Conference.
All right.
In the Western Conference, OKC got a really, really
They're
good
good.
team. But Howard, they've never been in a fire before. When you like, they're gonna be the team to beat in the Western Conference. They're gonna have the best record in the NBA, probably wrapped up soon. But let me tell you something. They're young. There's nobody on that team been through the fire. They don't have any idea what's coming their way when the playoffs start. Like they're going to be the number 1 seed, and the number 8 seed going to come in there with nothing to lose. And
Yeah.
listen, it's trial by fire, and they're going to have to understand that.
All right. And the Sixers are 3 to 4 years away from being 3 to 4 years away from being 3 to 4 years away from being 3 to 4 years away.
Well, the Sixers
That's what
are
they are.
Howard. Let me tell you something. I'm concerned about our Sixers. I'm really concerned because they are really one injury or one Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid was trending to be the second greatest Sixer ever after Wilt Chamberlain. That was 3 to 4 years ago, like you said. If he stayed healthy, he was going to probably be the best, other than Wilt Chamberlain, the greatest Sixer ever. No disrespect to Doc, to Moses, to Billy Cunningham, myself, AI. If he was able to stay healthy, he was going to be like, because listen, there's no doubt if he's healthy, he's right behind Joker as the best big
That's
man in
his
the
fault
league.
too, Charles, because he didn't work hard enough at
Listen,
trying to.
listen, the truth is going to come out at some point. But I would, to get back to my original point, if he can't get healthy, his contract, and same thing with Paul George's contract, they're going to be in hell for the next 10 years. If Joel cannot get
Yeah.
healthy and play at an all-star, not even MVP level, an all-star level, those contracts, like I say, his contract hasn't even kicked in yet.
I know it's ridiculous. It's
Like
ridiculous.
we're
All
talking
right.
about right
So
now,
now,
he's got another year to go before that extension kicks in. And if he
oh,
cannot get
it's
healthy,
horrible.
the Sixers aren't going to be 3 or 4 years away. They're going to be 10 years away.
Well, that's what I said. They're 3 to 4 years away from being 3 to 4 years away from being 3 to 4 years away. They're
Yeah.
going to be way down the line. All right. Because I know you're a gambling fool and you go to Las Vegas every year for the Super Bowl. Obviously, your opinion means nothing to people when it comes to betting football. But that's another story. You think you're good, but that's all right. Knock yourself out. All right, there's so many other things that I'm sure you're going to bet on, and not just the game. So we'll save the game for last on what your pick is for the game, and look at it realistically. What prop bets, and you'll be there. I mean, every second at the window with the prop bets. What prop bets are you
I
looking
actually
at?
don't do any prop bets, Howard. I really don't.
Really?
I do. I've never
What do you
done a
do?
prop bet. You know, this will be my 28th straight year going to Vegas for the Super Bowl. Me and I take the same
Yeah.
10, 15 guys. We get in Friday night. We have a big steak dinner and get drunk and gamble a little bit. Then we get up first thing Saturday morning, play 18 holes. We play 18 holes. Then we go and get drunk a little bit and go gamble all night. Wake up early Sunday morning, go play another 18 holes, come
Okay.
back and take a power nap, and then the Super Bowl is on. And Howard, let me tell you
Okay. All
something.
right.
I'm all in on the Eagles. I'm all
Okay.
in. And I'm going to bet a pretty penny on the Eagles. The Eagles have been the best team in football for the last 2 months. I'm going to bet big on the Eagles. And let me tell you something else, Howard. I'm going to shock you right now. It ain't even going
Yes,
to
you
be
will. I'm sure.
close. It ain't even going to be
Really.
close. 34-20 or 17. 34-17, the Eagles, brother.
So it's an over. It's an over. It's an over on the number. It's like 48 and a half. All right. You're crazy. So, but you have a few days there. And I've seen you gamble. Okay, so you're going to bet the Eagles, but you're going to do a lot of gambling before you get to the game if you're going Friday night. Can I tell a story when we were at the Borgata? Can I tell a story? I'm going to ask your
Sure.
permission. Okay, all right, here we go. Here we go. You're there. We're in that, I guess it's called the Legends area. You're playing blackjack, playing multiple hands. You're down close to $400,000. and you get it down to $200,000. And the Premier, I guess it was called the Premier Club, and it still is. You get it down to 200. I said, Charles, you cut yourself $200,000. Let's go. Nope, 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 nope. So you keep on going. You walk out winning $600,000. But you're different than anybody else. You want to walk out with cash. So, so you got the cash. It took forever for them to count the cash, and we had security
First of
take
all,
us out to the
that's
car.
what, hey, that's what I know you were a coward, because you got half the money, I got half the money. You're walking around like like you got your head on a swivel. I said, Howard, relax. If anybody come and try to take this money, I'm gonna beat their ass, not half to death, all the way to death. You're walking with your half of the money, and I'm saying, Howard, pay attention to where we're going. You got your head. I said, first of all, Howard, nobody knows we got this money in these bags.
What do they think we're walking out with? Turkey sandwiches? I mean, what the
Hey,
hell do you
listen,
think's
man.
going on?
Dude, relax. Hey, Howard, I know how to fight a little bit. If somebody had a cane, first of all, they're gonna grab
Wait a minute, I saw you
first.
try to fight. Who was it?
Hey, Howard.
Who
First
was
of all,
it?
they're
No,
gonna
it was
grab.
Shaq. You
let me
tried to
tell you
fight
something.
Shaq, and you're going like this,
Hey,
punching,
let me
backing
tell you
up
something. First of all,
with Shaq.
they're gonna grab you first, and I'm gonna use my bag to beat them over the head with. We're good, Howard. They're gonna grab you first. So, but I still got a bag full of money. And let me tell you something. You're gonna be able to, and listen, I don't expect you to let go of the bag quickly. All you gotta do is hold them just like 5 to 7 seconds so I can load the bag up behind my head to hit them with. So we're good, brother.
Okay. All right. So here's one of the final questions. We were good. It was your money. It doesn't, not my money, your money. I remember the night we were in Tile, I caddied for you at the golf tournament, which was fun, but you were all over the place. It was hard work for me. So we wanted to stay an extra night. So this is great advertisement for American Express, the American Express card. He says, you had to be someplace the next day for your old coach, Sonny, what was his name from Auburn?
Sonny Smith.
Sonny Smith. I had to be back on the air. I says, we got to get out of here. He says, well, see what flights are going out of San Francisco. Well, it's a 4-hour drive from Todd to San Francisco. All right, check about a private plane. So I go to the front desk, ask for a private plane. They tell me what the price would be to go to Philadelphia. I have a picture. It's a cool picture, actually. Have a picture. And I say, this is what it's going to be with the private plane. He says, you owed me $10,000 from golf, which I would have never gotten. But I says, I'll split it with you. I says, I'll pay the $10,000 and I'll never get the money anyway. So he said, let's do it. So that's what you say. I says, all right, give me your American Express card because I knew you didn't leave home without it.
You are correct.
We got the plane. The next morning, we get a car 10 minutes at the private airport, and we're back in Philadelphia in 4 hours. It was great.
Only way to fly,
It's
Howard.
nothing like it. Yeah, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like partying. I got one more. I got another story. We're out all night, and I don't drink, but you do. We're out partying all night, but we had a charity golf tournament the next morning. So we get back to your place at like 5:45ish, and he says, wake me up when we got to go. I said, that's great. We have to leave by 7 o'clock. I says, it's 5:45. It's 5:45, and we got to leave by 7 o'clock. I knew where you were. I don't even know how you played that day, but that doesn't matter.
I had a lot of practice at drinking, Howard.
Yeah, well, I know you have. There's nothing like partying with a rock star, and you are a rock star. But hey, listen, I appreciate the time. It's always fun talking. There's so many other stories. Ones I can tell, and ones I can't tell.
Hey,
Right.
and let me tell you something. Hey, Howard, let me tell you something. If you were to write a book about me, your family gonna have a lot of money, but you're gonna be dead as hell. Because if you tell any of my dark, dirty secrets, hey, you're not gonna be able to get a. Hey, it's gonna the kids, and then the kids gonna be set for life. But let me tell you something. Your ass gonna be dead as hell.
I already paid for their college education. They're set for life. They're set for life now. Hey, man. Shaq, don't let Shaq torture you the way he tortured you. Kenny, I can accept. I can't accept Shaq
Hey
because
man, hey
Shaq is a great player.
Listen, there's nothing better in my life than riling that big fella up. He is a big,
Yeah, he's
sensitive
the
teddy
best.
bear. There's like Ernie and Kenny says, why do you do that? Because man, I says it's fun harassing because he's a great dude, but he is one of the most sensitive people. And dude, you know how it is, Howard. When you get a friend who's sensitive, you got to stick him and jab him over and over and over.
Yeah, and I've gotten you a few times, and you looked at me and okay, it's just, and we move on. But the one thing, I've almost had fights with players, but I haven't had one with you. So we still have time, but you're not a player anymore. I, everybody asks me, and I don't know how to spell the word, when you're going to retire. And I always say, as long as I'm having fun, and if you're not having fun, you're not trying hard enough. As long as I'm having fun, I'm not going anywhere.
Howard,
And
what's
I guess
interesting?
that's the way you are.
Well, what's interesting about it though is sports are always fun. Like you think about your life, all the players in different sports that you've covered. I mean, think about it. You got a chance to watch Wilt, Dr. J, Moses Malone, Bobby Jones,
Yep.
myself, AI. Then you got still today Joel Embiid. You think about like when I came to Philadelphia, I didn't know anything about pro football. We don't have it in Alabama, and I'm sitting there. Oh my God, Randall Cunningham, Reggie White, Self Joyner, Dick Vermeil, Buddy Ryan. Then I go to the Flyers. I get to hang out with Eric Lindros, Ron Hextall. I got two
Yep.
jerseys at
All
my
those guys.
house, Ron Hextall and Brian Dawkins. Then I'm like, oh my God, there's Mike Schmidt. So now you go see, then you see Ryan Howard and Jimmy Rollins. The reason your job is so much fun is like there's always somebody new and exciting. That's the beauty of sports. Like, man, I started out with Moses and Doc, Larry Bird, McHale, and Parrish, and now I do Giannis, LeBron, Mike. I mean, I'm talking about, but now I get to watch LeBron and Giannis, Jason Tatum,
And don't
Jalen
forget about
Brown.
Jokic. I think Jokic is terrific. Don't
That's
forget
an
about Jokic.
understatement. That guy, he probably the most skilled big man I've ever seen in my life. Is he the best? No, he's not the
Hmm.
best, but he's probably the most skilled big man I've ever seen in my life. Period.
Yep. All right. Hey, Charles, I do appreciate it. Uh,
Howard,
I
I'm gonna be
know
serious. I'm gonna be
it's
serious before I
important.
tell you to kiss my ass. I'm gonna be one time serious before I tell you to kiss my ass. Hey man, you've been a friend for over 40
Big enough.
years. I want to thank you for your friendship. Hey, that's been time you criticized me. Hey man, sometimes you were right, sometimes we didn't agree. But man, you're a hard-working dude. I admire you. I respect you. But thanks for having me, man. I can't believe your ass got a podcast.
You know what? It's just a broken clock's right twice a day. So what the hell? I mean, it's
Damn.
just.
Hey,
But I'll tell
first of
you
all, you
what.
got the perfect face for radio, and now your ass got a podcast. I don't know what the hell going on
Yeah,
here.
I was on TV for over 20
What?
years.
Yeah, but
But
that was
I'll tell
like
you,
in black and white.
yeah, well, you are. I'm not that old. You know what? I'm working with a bunch of great guys uh, at Creative Outfit is the name of the company, and you know we hit it off immediately. And it at first, I was a little apprehensive. It's different, but I started WIP. I was the first anchor at Channel 29. Hey, listen, challenges are what's important in life. When you went into the NBA, I'm sure that was a challenge. When you went to the finals against the Bulls, that was a challenge. Challenges are important in our life, and you've got to take on a challenge. Otherwise, what's the sense? I mean, what are you doing in life? You got to go for it. You got to
You are
try
correct.
anyway. So I appreciate it. Yeah. Hey, Charles, I appreciate it. Uh, Tell Shaq I still love him, even though, uh, you know what, he was so nice, but I didn't appreciate how good a player he was. And you don't appreciate it until after he was done playing. And Kenny's just a funny guy.
Yeah.
Kenny thinks he's better than he was as a player. Kenny was a good player, not as good as he thinks he was.
Yeah,
But Kenny's
it's a
great.
pleasure to
But
go to
anyway,
work, and we're all held together by the Godfather Ernie Johnson, man. But we get to watch, we get paid to
and
watch
he's
basketball.
great too.
Yeah, hey, I tell
Yeah,
people,
he's
man,
great too.
I get paid to watch basketball. Life's good for me.
I know. Hey, listen, it's all about stealing money. You've done a good job of it too.
Hey,
So
I'm coming up on 62 years, and like my birthday is like in 3 weeks. I might go my whole. I'm
February
on a six.
20th, right?
I'm on a yeah February the 20th. I'm on a 62-year roll. Never had a real job in my life.
I know, it's amazing. Hey, Charles, I really appreciate it. And thanks, really thanks so much. We'll do it again.
Okay,
Rich,
brother.
yeah,
Hey,
I still haven't hit,
I'll see
I
you
haven't
this
hit
summer.
85% of the stories.
Hey, hey.
Yes, and I may see it before. Charles, and I appreciate everything you've done and helped me with charities too. You are, people don't realize when I see people, and you see them too, people don't, athletes are cheap by nature. You are so absolutely generous with people when you go out, whether it's the wait staff at a restaurant, whether it's at a casino and you're losing your ass, you're still taking care of people, and people got to understand it. You know, there's a couple incidents that happen in your career. Oh, yeah, no, he's not a good. Yes, he is. He's a great guy, and I appreciate you doing this, and we'll have to do it again. Thanks
All
so
right, brother.
much. Really,
Appreciate you.
thanks so much. And we'll be right back with some final thoughts. Thanks, Charles.
Okay.
All right, there's a few things that I need to straighten out here because I saw some of the questions. And if you have any more questions, fire away and I'll try to answer a few before we get out of here. Who is better at golf? This is the important stuff. This is the important stuff. Who is better at golf, you or Charles? Well, that's not even close. It got closer because he plays more now than I do, but I got to play some more. But when we get together, we kill each other. I'll tell you. Okay, here's a great story. This is one I should have. Well, we mentioned golf. We did so many different things. Like I said, there's so many stories. We're playing at a place called Boulders, and anybody that's a golfer knows the Boulders in the Phoenix area, in Phoenix, Arizona area. And he's on a hole, and he hits a shot, and it hits a rock to the left, right off the tee. He yanked it so bad, and then it hits the golf ball, hits him in the head. He starts whining. Big tough guy. Starts, am I bleeding? Am I bleeding? No, you're not. But the ball's still here. You got to hit it again. No, you're not. Just hit the golf ball. It's a great story. One of the holes in Tahoe, he had a 15. How he got to the 15 is amazing, and that's another story for another time. But I am a better player, but he's better now than he used to be, I'll say that. He was good years ago when we first started, and then he just kind of faded off a little bit. He had the yips and all that, and he got that pretty much straightened out. So I wanted to straighten that out. Somebody sent a message, who is a better player, Charles or Shaq? Two different players. Shaq could dominate a game, but I don't know if Shaq is better. He could dominate a game because he was so big and strong. Charles was so fluid. When he got the ball off a break, and I mentioned it, when he got the ball off a break, he could start the break. He got because he could rebound, and he started the break because he could handle and he could pass. That's Larry Bird to a T, but Charles was just as fluid, not as good as Larry Bird, because Larry Bird's one of the, I think, four best players that ever play in the NBA, and there's a lot of people, unfortunately for them, didn't see him. It's just it's so interesting to watch players and then think about how they played after they were done. And Charles made a point about Joel Embiid, and I didn't want to debate him on it then. We'll do it at another time. Well, if he was healthy, he'd be one of the two or three greatest players in Sixers history. I think Moses Malone is better than Embiid because he works harder. That's another thing. So, you can't just say if he was healthy because when the Sixers drafted him, they knew he was always going to be hurt. But anyway, I think Charles is a better player than Shaq. And I saw some comments. We want to talk about the Super Bowl. I'll tell you, I'm going to be back on Saturday. Somebody asked me for my Super Bowl prediction. I'm going to be back on Saturday, and I want to think about it a little more. I know it's Wednesday when we're doing this live, and you'll see it from then on. But I'll be back on Saturday, and it's just I think the Eagles are a better football team. I will say that, but the best football team doesn't always win. So I want to look at other things. The other thing that the Eagles have won in the playoffs because they're so far ahead in the plus minus and turnovers. But Kansas City doesn't turn the ball over. So can the Eagles win without getting all those turnovers? And that's something that I want to look at anyway. But I appreciate all your comments. People want answers on the game. I'll wait. You don't have to make that answer. Well, you want to hear my thoughts on I just gave you some of my thoughts. Now, I think the Eagles are the better team. And I know being in Philadelphia, we all hope that the Eagles win. And it would be interesting. I will say this. This would be a great experience for people that haven't experienced a Super Bowl. And anybody at this point has probably experienced the one in the 2017 season. That was the greatest event of my life. It was the first championship. Actually, I was a little kid when the Eagles won a championship in 1960. I was a little kid. But that wasn't the Super Bowl. So that was, to me, the greatest sporting event that I've ever been to in Philadelphia. The 80 World Series was right up there with the Phillies. And there was other World Series, but there was nothing. They had a bunch of really interesting players. So this will be a great experience for a lot of people. But I've already experienced something really, really great when the Eagles won in 2017, actually in 2018, the 2017 season. Let me see if there's another comment here that I want to touch on before I leave. You want to hear my thoughts. I just gave you some, but I'll give you the prediction. On Saturday. It gives you a reason, if you want to listen. But, like I said, the reason that we didn't talk more football, and it's been so much talk. That's all you hear on television in Philadelphia and on radio, and it's like, how much already? Let's get to the game. How many times do we have to hear the same questions? And I've been to 42 Super Bowls. So I've been through all that, and I understand it. But, man, there's a point where it's just overdone at this time. But it'll be a close game because that's the way Kansas City plays. It'll be a very good game. I lean towards the Eagles, but let's wait to Saturday. Saturday, and here, I'm glad somebody just sent a message. What time Saturday? Well, because people miss me on the radio at 8 o'clock on Saturday mornings. That was appointment radio, and it doesn't exist anymore. But it will exist in this world, the new world of podcast. I will be on at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning, and I want to answer a lot of your questions. At some point, I think we'll take calls. The technology, we'll get to that. But the technology is so, but let's start it the way we're starting it. But 8 o'clock on Saturday, we'll talk more about it. Somebody says you hit the nail on the head about the turnovers. Yeah, I mean, that's over or under. Charles thinks it's going to be an over. I think the way these teams play, I would take the under. Somebody asked another question. Will this be weekly? I'm going to try to do three shows a week. And Saturday morning would be one of them. Might do it from a location. I'm talking about that. Obviously, I have a lot of great people that I've had relationships over the years. and maybe do something with one of the sponsors at their location. A lot of things we can do, but I also, and I mentioned it before, I want to thank the company that I'm so impressed. I really am impressed with how they do things, the way they do it. Creative Outfit is the company behind the technology here for my podcast, and they do other podcasts too. But I can tell after the first show and before the first show, the technology is great. But I want to thank you, and you for joining the podcast. And if you missed it live, this will be obviously posted on the social media platforms, so you can listen again on Twitter. We had a little technical glitch at the beginning, but that's all straightened out. On Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and within shortly, let's say 24-ish hours, it'll be YouTube. And then when we do the show, my understanding, it will be live on YouTube. Somebody commented on my outfit. Yeah, nice. Well, hey, listen, that's the way I roll. It's just Tom Lupfer, great show. Thank you, Tom. There's an Antonio Luliano, also compliments on the show. I have your bobbleheads. How about somebody, who was that? I have your bobbleheads. Yeah, I had 2 bobbleheads, both with real mink, one of them with a real diamond. And I raised a lot of money for charity. And that's another thing that I want to continue. We're here for a reason a lot of times, and I want to continue helping people that deserve the help. I donate a lot of money to 2 SPCAs, Brandywine Valley SPCA and Providence Animal Center. I've done a lot for the Eagles Autism, close to $700,000 in 4 years. Try to help people, and that's really important. But anyway, thank you, and we'll see you again. I mean, this was, it's the new world. Anytime we do something different, and this is the next chapter, anytime we do something different, and I just thank all the people that joined us and will join us. And during the show, I'm going to try to answer your questions and comments. And on the social media platforms, when you make a comment, would you make a comment? And when you make a comment, I'm trying to read some of the comments that are now on my phone. When you make some comments, I'm going to try to respond to as many people as possible. Thank you. The Howard Eskin podcast, I think, from what everybody thinks, was certainly fun. We had a great guest, and I will have other great guests in the future, and we'll have Charles back. I mean, I'm telling you, we haven't touched on 80% of the great stories. Thank you, and we'll see you on Saturday. Have a great day and a better day tomorrow.